Alright everyone, so today I wanted to share with you guys a guide on everything you are going to want to do in Raid Shadow Legends every single day. And these are going to be your must-do things. Like, you're not going to want to miss out on these activities each day because they are going to be time sensitive. And that's really important because a theme in the game is you want to do the stuff that's on a timer before you really want to work on the stuff that isn't on a timer, because you can always go back to the stuff that doesn't have a time limit later on. But when it comes to things like dailies and weeklies, if you don't do them by a certain time, you're going to miss out on certain rewards. I would also highly recommend that you guys do this in a certain order as well. It doesn't have to be exactly the way that I do it, but you're going to realize that doing it in a certain order is going to not only make it easier, but also more efficient. Now, I do know that I did a video very similar to this a while ago. However, there have been some new additions to the game, like the Battle Pass, that have not only added more things that you're going to want to do each day, but also changed the order in which you're going to want to approach this. So I thought that I would re-release more of a updated version of this. Alright, now let's get right to it and start off with number 1 on the list, and this is very important. I always like to do this first because depending on this thing right here, it's going to change my activities for the rest of the day, and that is checking my events and tournaments. And I'm really looking for the red dot, not necessarily for the rewards, but mostly to see if there's any announcements for new events and tournaments. Now, the good news is, while we have this fusion event going on right now, we actually have an idea of what the upcoming events and tournaments are. We have the dates here. However, when there's not a fusion event going on, we don't have these actual dates, so we really just have to look at the actual events and tournament page, pretty much check it every single day, look for that red dot, and see if there's any new announcements for upcoming stuff. So, I'll log on and see, and if I see that there is a champion training event, or if there is a certain dungeon tournament that all of a sudden got announced that starts, within the next day or so, now that's going to change kind of the order and the approach and how I handle everything else throughout the rest of the day, because I'm going to reprioritize my energy and resources in a different way to accommodate for the new event that we have that's going to be coming up. So, very important. I would definitely take a look at that first. Now, the next thing that I like to do, and this is a little bit of a silly one, but it's still important, because if you don't do this, you're probably going to mess up like I have many times. That's just, I quite simply like to check my mailbox. I know it's stupid, but this is a perfect reason why right here, is because a lot of the times I'll go through my mailbox and I'll notice that I somehow forgot rewards that are just about to expire, like this energy right here. So I'll go through really quickly, double check, make sure, especially with shop purchases, sometimes they don't claim them just because, I don't want to get lost with other stuff, but especially if you are into the habit of me where I don't automatically pick things up from the mailbox right away, I like to quickly take a look at this each day to make sure I don't let anything expire. Next up is the daily login rewards. Now, this is a really simple one, of course. If you log into the game, you're going to get these rewards, but a little bit of a tip for you guys, if you did not know, especially useful when it comes to the days that you have the energy right here. You can't actually click on this daily reward screen and then click out of it without claiming the rewards that you can get. It'll automatically pick it up for you. So if I had a reward available to me right now, let's just say that I had not claimed the silver and it was day 103 and not day 102. Even if I didn't click on the silver and I exited the daily login rewards, it still claims the reward for you. Now, that can be really annoying because it'll pop up the screen a lot when you log in, and especially on days where you get a lot of energy, it'll still claim that energy, right? Now, what you can do is, if you guys log in a couple of minutes before the actual daily reset, whatever time zone, for me it's 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If I log in at like 4:55, what you can actually do is just keep the game open and not click on the daily login reward screen and claim that reward later. Not really that big of a deal for everything else except for the energy though, but if you want to not claim the energy and let your regen keep going normally for a little while and claim it a little bit later on, that's something that you can do right there. So, next up is a really simple, easy one. It's the shop page. There will be a red dot here. This is really just mostly to get rid of the red dot because I know they can be annoying. I apologize that there's a lot of red dots when I record my videos, but actually a lot of the reasoning why is stuff that I'm explaining in this video. Is I like to keep a lot of resources that I don't need to use right away, things like energy refills, until I actually need to use them, so that I don't let my natural energy regeneration go to waste. But when it comes to the shop, you'll see a red dot. It's mostly just the mystery shard, the ancient shard. If you did buy anything in the shop, you can get your, your time-sensitive rewards, like the monthly gem pack or whatever. Just make sure to claim those things right there. Next up on the list, though, is going to be something that is newer to the game, and that is Battle Pass. So taking a look at your actual Battle Pass missions and seeing what you're going to need to go about to complete these for the rest of the day. Very important, especially if you guys are trying to get as high of a level as you can for those rewards. And some days are really easy, some days require a little bit more work, but another reason why I like to check these rewards right now is because there's actually a lot of overlap with these Battle Pass rewards with some of the daily and weekly quests. So I would do this first rather than working on your dailies and weeklies, because then you might create more work for yourself that you didn't need to. Like this one, for example, upgrade gauntlets to level 8. Not very difficult one, but what you can actually do is you can kind of knock out 2 birds with 1 stone with one of your dailies, where it says make 4 artifact upgrade attempts, and kind of both work on those at the same time. So no reason to create extra effort and extra pointless work for silly dailies that you don't have to, so that's why I do that first. So Battle Pass. Next up is, I like to check at this point to make sure that my arena tokens are not fully maxed out. Now, energy is not as big of a deal at this point. If this is like the first time that I'm logging in for, you know, over 6-7 hours and my energy is maxed out, not a big deal right now, because the next thing I'm going to jump into is working on daily quests, and I'll be spending energy there all the time. But for the time being, arena tokens, just, you know, even if it's 1, they have a 1-hour time to refresh, so not really something that I like to keep at maximum amount for too long, because it's kind of a waste of resources. It's not a big deal, but if that's one of those things that bothers you, something to be mindful of. Now, another important thing about the arena, not something that I've really had to worry about for a while, but those of you guys who are still newer to the game or climbing through the ranks, always make sure that, especially if you're very close to the next ranking period ending like we are right now, we're less than a day away, these reset every week, we've got 16 hours, make sure that you are not really close to the bottom end of whatever bracket that you are in. You know, like if you're in, say, you know, gold 2, for example, right? Make sure that you're not like at 2,320 points. Try to be a little bit above that. That's very important, because a lot of the times, right before the arena bracket resets, you might accidentally lose a couple battles, fall below 2,300, get down to like 2,280, and then when the arena bracket resets, instead of only losing a couple points and going from 2,320 down to 2,300, if you go down to 2,280 before the bracket resets, now you're going to drop all the way back down to 2,000. So that's something that's going to make the climb a lot more difficult for you. So that's something that I like to do. Now we're going to get into the actual dailies, and the dailies are not that bad. They don't take very long. This is where you're going to be using energy as well. I believe there's also one where it's fight arena battles, so I guess you don't even actually have to do the arena until you start working on the dailies as well, because there's one that's fight in the arena 5 times. So at this point, I will use some arena and some energy, so I'll be getting back my natural energy refresh. These really are not that difficult, so just check the market. This one is going to be beat the campaign boss or play through the campaign, so you kind of work on this one while also using energy at the same time. Summon 3 champions. You can always just use mystery shards for this, of course. Now there's a weekly as well that is summoned, I think, 25 times. So you don't necessarily have to summon 25 things right away when you unlock the weekly. You can get most of it done just through your dailies, because you're going to do like 5 or 6 of these every single week. So that's 15 or 18 summons to work on this one right here. So what I'm saying is, as soon as you see a daily, weekly, whatever it is, you don't necessarily need to do it all right away. Some of them overlap a little bit, just like they do with the Battle Pass, so you can kind of work on being a little bit efficient with that and not creating extra work for yourself. Now, another really important thing about the dailies is something that I'm doing right now, and you guys will see here that for the weeklies, I have not claimed these rewards yet. And that's because I really don't like to claim rewards until I absolutely need to, especially if I'm busy. Like, I'm recording right now, so I'm obviously not farming, which means there's no reason to be overcapped on energy if I don't have to be. Now, sometimes I know it happens in a lot of my videos. I will, because, you know, I only have certain times where I can really record, and I don't really have a choice at that point. But, you know, if I do have a choice, I like to stay under the energy amount and keep resources that I can claim later on, and, you know, just being more efficient in that way. Same with the playtime rewards right here. You've got all these rewards here, and I will do my best to hold off on the energy and the arena bag until I really need to use those resources. The arena bag as well, if you don't plan on doing arena battles, or if you see a possible arena event coming up, you can always wait to claim this until a couple of minutes before the daily reset, and what will happen is it'll get sent to your mailbox for an additional 24 hours. So From the moment that you actually get this bag available to you until you can no longer get the reward, you actually have 2 full days, because you can wait until the very end of the playtime rewards day to end to claim it, and then you can wait another full day in your actual mailbox. So, you know, that's something to be mindful of if you are trying to min-max your rewards right there. All right, now something that I have not moved into at all yet, and that is going to be Clan Boss. So this is kind of, once I finished up everything up until this point, now this is when I start working on Clan Boss stuff. Really simple one, of course, is your Clan Boss check-in, which is going to be just some extra rewards. Let's see here. Let's go to Clan Boss. Make sure you do that. Now, another important thing about clan resources that I really like to do, and you guys absolutely don't have to do this, but it has really increased the amount of rewards that I get, is I really like to be very, very mindful of when my keys actually refresh. You can even go so far as to use your keys at a very specific time so that you know exactly when they refresh. Like mine right now are pretty down to the minute. I know virtually exactly when I get my Clan Boss keys, because you get one every 6 hours. So if you really use these resources well each day, and you do this, you can get 4 Clan Boss keys each day instead of maybe only getting 2 or 3 if you aren't that efficient with them. So absolutely try your very best to get as much out of your Clan Boss keys as you possibly can, because especially as a free-to-play, you're going to get a ton of rewards for account progress through doing this. So this is the time to use any keys that you have available to you, and kind of make sure that you have whatever system you use for this on lockdown, because this is definitely a very, very important one. So after you've done your Clan Boss check-in and you've used your Clan Boss items, another important one that is a bit newer to the game that we didn't have at the very start is Faction Wars. Now, we have Faction Wars keys for each of the crypts that we have available to us, and even if you are done progressing and you're kind of at a roadblock, make sure that you still use your keys. This is where I do that, and I will never let my Faction Wars keys go to waste, even if that means that I'm going to farm the easiest difficulties on repeat. That's totally fine. Get those glyphs, stock up. You know, it doesn't take that long to farm out the easier difficulties just for those extra glyphs, and that's the time that I dedicate to doing this right here. Now, next up is we've kind of done all the stuff that really requires to be done every single day. There's still some time-gated things though, like especially if you're still working on your missions and your challenges, this is the time to make sure that you're not at a point where there's a mission that requires you to do a certain keep, for example, like the Spirit, Magic, Force, or Void. There's a lot of missions and challenges where you can only actually complete them when one of these opens up. So make sure that you are progressing on that and working on that. At this point, this is kind of where I would start to really make sure that you are at that point. I wouldn't get to this until you've done all your other stuff first, because everything up until this point has been a lot more time sensitive. But once you've finished everything now, make sure that you're kind of caught up on your missions and challenges that are time sensitive. And at this point, once you have done that, now I usually go back to events and tournaments if there's something running in particular, and this is kind of the time that I decide to use my resources. You know, this is where, you know, I'm going to farm a certain dungeon, or I'm going to be working on a champion training event, or I'm going to be, you know, if there's no events or tournaments running, I generally like to default to Minotaur's Lair when there's not really a lot going on, because we don't have any kind of events for Minotaur's Lair. So, you know, if we have champion training, then I'll focus mostly on that. If we have dungeon tournaments going on, then I'll mostly focus on that. But when we don't have either of those, generally I like to default to Minotaur's Lab. Just not always 100%. Sometimes I'll do other stuff, but that's kind of like the little priority list that I like to go with. So, and this is kind of the point now where I finished everything else. Nothing is time sensitive anymore, and now I can just kind of farm, and however much time I have, now I'll spend doing that. So, yeah, that's kind of just a rundown of everything you're going to want to do in relatively specific order. You don't have to do it exactly the same way that I did, but I would try to keep it a certain theme and consistent way so that you don't forget stuff and lose out on stuff that's going to help out your account. So that's going to be it for the video today, though. I hope that you guys enjoyed and that it did help out. And if you did and you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to toss a quick like as well. It means more than you can imagine. And more Raid Shadow Legends videos, guides, tutorials, and all that fun stuff should be popping up on the screen right about now. Feel free to check them out. We're getting really close to 200. But if not, until next time, this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.